unfold.
All right, let's talk about the end of the world as we know it. I'm not being dramatic, well, maybe a little, but we're going to explore a very real scenario, one grounded in actual history and physics. We're talking about the day the entire modern world just gets switched off. Just picture it for a second. No internet, no phone, no lights, nothing. A complete global blackout. How on earth could something like that even happen? You see, the source of this potential catastrophe isn't some new weapon or a cyber attack. It's 93 million miles away. It's our own sun. The very star that gives us life could be the thing that throws us right back into the Dark Ages. Now, our story doesn't start in the future. It actually starts way back in the past, in a time long before the internet, when a massive solar storm gave us a terrifying little preview of what's to come. Back in 1859, the Carrington event slammed into the Victorian era's version of the internet, the telegraph system, and things got weird. Wires started sparking, operators were getting zapped, and telegraph papers literally caught fire. Get this, one operator in Boston actually disconnected his battery and kept sending messages for 2 hours using only what he called celestial power from the aurora itself. Now, if a storm that big hit us today, it wouldn't just spark a few wires. We're talking about a cascade of failures so complete that recovery would be measured in years, maybe even a decade. So what made that 1859 storm such a monster? Well, it was a double tap. First, a smaller solar flare, a coronal mass ejection, shot out and basically cleared a path through all the space junk and solar wind between the sun and Earth. This created a near-perfect vacuum, so when the second, much bigger CME erupted right after, it had a completely clear highway. It traveled at an insane speed, over 3,000 kilometers a second, and slammed into our planet in just 17.5 hours. For perspective, it usually takes these things several days to get here. And before you write this off as some quirky historical event, listen to this. On July 23, 2012, a Carrington-class storm just as powerful erupted from the sun. It crossed Earth's orbit. We just weren't there. We missed getting hit by only 9 days. As Daniel Baker from the University of Colorado put it, if it had hit, we would still be picking up the pieces. So, what are the odds today? Well, scientists estimate there's as much as a 12% chance of a storm like this hitting us in any given decade. That's a game of Russian roulette we're playing with our entire civilization. We are, for sure, living on borrowed time. So, if or when this happens, how does the collapse actually begin? It's a chain reaction, like a set of dominoes. And the very first domino to get knocked over is the foundation of our entire modern world, the electrical grid. When this wave of solar energy hits our magnetic field, it's like striking a colossal bell. The whole thing vibrates violently. This creates these powerful, low-frequency DC currents in the ground itself. And what's the path of least resistance for all that current? You guessed it, are thousands upon thousands of miles of high-voltage transmission lines. The grid literally becomes a giant antenna, soaking up the energy of a planetary-scale disaster. And here is the grid's fatal flaw, its Achilles heel. The most important parts, these huge power transformers, they're all designed for alternating current, AC. But these geomagnetically induced currents, or GICs, are basically direct current, DC. Pumping DC into an AC transformer is like pouring water into a gas tank. It's catastrophic. The core just saturates, it starts leaking incredible amounts of energy, and the guts of the transformer literally begin to melt. This is where the problem goes from bad to truly terrifying. A Carrington event could wipe out hundreds of these critical transformers all at once, and the average lead time to build just one new one? 4 years. They are custom built, they weigh hundreds of tons, and we have no stockpile. Zero. And if that wasn't bad enough, our supply chain is unbelievably fragile. The US, for example, imports over 80% of its large transformers. Now, in a global catastrophe where every developed nation is crippled, do you really think other countries are going to be exporting their most critical hardware? No way. Every country will lock down its own production to save itself. The global market would just freeze. So, the grid is down. The lights are out. The second domino is already tipping. The physical internet itself. See, the internet wouldn't just switch off, it would shatter. Those induced currents from the storm are strongest at higher latitudes, near the poles. That means the most critical submarine cables, the ones connecting North America and Europe across the Atlantic, for instance.
they'd be the first to go. The global internet would break apart into isolated regional intranets, completely unable to talk to each other.
Now, the fiber optic cables themselves are made of glass, so they're safe. The real problem is the powered repeaters that are spaced out every 100 kilometers or so on the ocean floor. These little devices boost the signal, and they're powered by a copper wire that runs the entire length of the cable. And it's that copper wire that gets fried by the induced currents. The repeaters overload, and if just one of them fails, the whole cable goes dark.
And this disaster isn't just happening on the ground. The third domino falls from orbit. It's the day our entire satellite infrastructure, which we depend on for everything, comes crashing down. A big solar storm heats up Earth's upper atmosphere, making it expand upwards. For satellites in low Earth orbit, like the Starlink constellation, this is like suddenly flying through thicker air. Think of it as increased drag. In February 2022, a pretty minor solar storm increased atmospheric drag by 50% and destroyed 40 brand new Starlink satellites. A Carrington event would be orders of magnitude worse. We could see thousands of satellites deorbiting and burning up within days. But there's a quieter, more insidious killer up there: GPS. We think of it for maps, but its most important job is providing these super precise timing signals that sync up everything from the stock market to our cell phone networks. A solar storm would disrupt these signals badly. So even if a cell tower has backup power, its timing will start to drift out of sync with the rest of the network. The whole system becomes incoherent. Your phone might even show full bars, but no calls will go through and no data will flow. It's a ghost network.
Okay, so we've seen the infrastructure collapse, the grid, the internet, the satellites. But what does this actually mean for you and me, for society? How fast do things really fall apart? The speed is what's so terrifying. Within just 1 hour, the global internet is broken into pieces. Within a day, cell networks are gone. Within 3 days, all the data centers, the brains of our modern world, they run out of diesel for their backup generators. The cloud just evaporates. And within 4 days, with our just-in-time delivery system completely frozen, cities start running out of food. This digital crisis becomes a humanitarian crisis almost instantly. Without electricity, water pumps fail, sewage systems back up, health officials will issue boil water advisories, but think about it. How do you boil water when you live in an all-electric apartment with no power? Hospitals lose access to all their electronic patient records, and the supply chains for medicine, fuel, and food, they just cease to exist.
I know, this all sounds incredibly bleak. But here's the thing. This catastrophic failure isn't actually inevitable. It's a choice. It's the result of us building a world that prioritizes efficiency over resilience. So what can we actually do about it?
The solutions are actually pretty well known, and they're achievable. We can harden the grid by installing devices that act like surge protectors against these destructive DC currents. We could create a national strategic reserve of transformers, just like we already do for oil. To protect our networks, we can build ground-based timing systems that can serve as a backup for GPS. And on the most basic level, we can just make sure our critical infrastructure, like water treatment plants, can be operated in a simple, analog, manual mode if the digital systems fail.
So why haven't we done any of this? Well, the cost of prevention is high. We're talking billions of dollars. It's a huge investment. But the estimated cost of the damage from a Carrington-level event is in the trillions, with a recovery that could take the better part of a decade. Which leaves us with one last very important question to think about. As expensive as resilience is doing nothing the most costly choice of all?